Hello, hello, and welcome to my trifecta of the day. So, Steven, my man, nice to see you here. All right, I have to get my new presentation. Oops, bear with me. All right, cool. All right, so let me start off by saying that coaching, training, and scaling teams is, I would say, arguably my number one or number two expertise in coaching. I've been growing and scaling people's seven-figure businesses. If you wonder who are those coaches that work with people doing three, four, $500 million a year, that would be me, right? So a lot of team building is understanding that all of the things that make you a good agent are all the challenges you have working with your team. Salespeople and people managers could not be two more different things. Make sense, everybody? So now we're going to learn how to build a foundation, right? Julie, nice to see you here too. So if you think about this, you cannot build a foundation on anything that's fluid, right? So the first part is your unique value proposition, right? Most of the time that we have bad culture fits, we have drama, people leave, there's complaints, people ask for more. It's because you have the wrong team members, right? And that goes directly aligned with what you're offering and finding the right people. Right? Like, if you're a duck, you want other ducks. If you're a goose, you want other gooses, right? So in the end, if you offer a very specific set of stuff, you want people there for that right stuff. So we're going to go through everything today. We have a worksheet that you can fill out, a book that you can fill out to actually build this out into like an actual deliverable that you can give people, right? So our team training, I would say, is one of the best things that we have, right? I've been doing this now for 6 years for Compass agents, and there's no team I've ever worked with that has not scaled. And I'm going to give you all the secrets that all like the 100, 200, $300 million people do. And I'm going to share this with you, and this should make you all feel better. None of this stuff is complicated. The biggest mistake that we all make in coaching is we're looking for these magic bullets, magic pills. It's doing the simple things really well and doing it with a plan and a purpose. So let's get started. So we're going to define today's agenda. We're going to define your value proposition. We're going to talk about writing your value proposition and then sharing your value proposition, right? So as we get into this, defining your value proposition, think of this principle, CCQ. It has to be clear what you offer. It has to be concise and specific what another person gets, and it has to be quantifiable. Let's look at Compass, right? It's clear one of their value proposition is twofold, right? It is, hold on, excuse me. It is their billion-dollar technology platform and all of you, the community of agents, right? The one in every five deals almost is a referral. It's collaborative. It's one luxury brand. It's concise, right? They give you business tracker, CRM, collections, digital ads, reverse prospecting, the client dashboard. The list goes on and on and on and on, right? And it's a quantifiable, absolutely. Like it's really clear, concise, and these are all of the things you get. You log into Compass Home and there's all of this stuff, right? So the first question that you want to ask yourself and hit yes or no in the chat, is your value proposition clear, concise, and quantifiable to yourself and to your team members? Yes or no? We have a small group here, so this can be interactive and a little more fun than the larger sessions. Let's see. No, maybe, no, not so much, no, no. Great, look, we have lots of room for growth, right? So think about this. If it's confusing for you, how confusing is it for everyone else, right? I remember I work with a pro athlete community. I work with professional athletes as well as the company that trains them. So I built this thing called the PAC Learning System, the Pro Athlete Community Learning System. And so it's a 5-day seminar. And what I said to them was, I was like, it's impossible. These are not like collegiate students or collegiate athletes. So they don't know how to take notes and everything else. So I was like, look, I want to take all the speaker notes and put them in the workbook and then teach them how to take notes, because learning in a coaching or seminar is a learned skill. You know what I learned? I personally interviewed all of the speakers to do this project. 75% of them could not even comprehend explaining to me what they did and what the notes were. So if they didn't know it, how well is the other person receiving it? Same thing with team members, right? Same thing when you recruit. If you don't understand it, how is someone else going to understand it? And how are they going to use it, right? I'll keep using Compass in this, right? Think about how many trainings they have for you to take advantage. Think about how many times they endlessly talk about their tools, the technology, the Compass, retreat, the connect the dots, all of those things, luxury retreats. Start thinking about this, right? Let's get to the next part. I call this the golden cycle of value proposition, and clarity is king, right? The first step is we need to be really clear on what we offer, right? And we'll get into all the details. Then we need to write down what we offer. And then we need to incorporate, hit yes in here if you actually have like team meetings. You guys all have team meetings with your team members? Great. So most of us do. When was the last time you A, shared with your team members the resources you have, B, told them the best way to use them, and then C, used social proof and said, you know what, I'm going to highlight, let's see, who's here on my screen? I'm going to highlight Jennifer Cole. You know, she had used our leads that we provide for her, and she was able to do 3 closings and earn $100,000 a month. Jennifer, why don't you go share with the team how that happened, how you utilize the resources, and they're going to start talking about it, and that's going to get everyone else to do it. Is anyone else, anybody doing that right now? Going once, going twice, sold. Brian, yes. Anybody else? Great. You want to build this as part of your culture, right? And it's really important because as a team leader, you're leading other people. So you every single week want to show people how they're winning on your team, right? By the way, when you have retention issues, people want more money and everything else like that, like you start looking at the other people, they start thinking to themselves, wait a second, I'm not getting the most out of what they're doing here. Julie's doing this. I'm not even using this stuff, right? So this is a cycle, and we'll dive more into it. Now, let's look at our value proposition pyramid, right? First, you start off by developing your value proposition, right? So we want to sit down and go through our own internal exercise of what do I really offer people, right? And the easiest one to talk about is leads. Like you either offer leads or you don't offer leads, right? Every time someone hears leads, it's a team member, what do they hear? Chirag is going to give me infinite leads and I'm going to be rich. If you offer coaching and mentoring, that's very different than somebody that's looking for leads, right? So clarity is king. Then we want to write all this stuff down. By writing it down, one, it internalizes what we really have, we don't have. And number two, then it starts prompting your brain to the next part, sharing it. Like, how are people using these things? Do you know how many times we work individually with teams and we go through their P&L statements and their budgets, and then we look at the direct correlation to what they spend money on to what their team uses and what the ROI is, and addition by subtraction and simplification. We can raise their profitability right away because half the things people pay for nobody uses, and then they're mad at their team members because they don't use it, and the majority of them didn't even come for that, right? So, or there's no implementation or like rollout system. Right. So then you start thinking about how am I going to share, and just think about the same way as a company. Compass is always looking on how you can adopt their technology to better your business. You constantly have to be sharing on ways that people have used it successfully, ways to use it, making training around it. Right. It's why many of you, and like I could speak to Brian specifically. In this case, Brian has all of his team members come to our coaching, right? It's part of their culture. They're here together every single day. And he's constantly reinforcing that value to them, right? I pay for coaching, right? Like, what'd you get out of coaching? It all works synergistically if you have a system. And then the last one is, I think the most important for all your mental well-being, aligning your value proposition with the right team members. When we get into recruiting and onboarding and all these other areas of building and scaling a team, look, there has to be, if you offer five things, five core things, it shouldn't be more than that. You give people these lists, it's stuff people come for a few different things, right? If you offer five core things, and at least if two out of those five things aren't what exactly the person wants, don't hire them, right? It's not the right fit. They talk about product market fit. You have to talk about value proposition team member fit, right? And then if the people on your team are not using this stuff, ding, 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 they're the wrong agent, right? We'll get into profitable splits, but I can tell you this conception of running your team like a brokerage, right? Like a brokerage is, I give you stuff. We don't really have culture. You use what you want to use. We offer, some meetings. When you make a deal, I make money, right? But when you have teams, you're spending time with these people, right? That's money. You invest money into them, whether postcards, branding, lifestyle photography, that's money. They use your staff members, that's money, right? And then a lot of people have ridiculous splits that they're making a nominal amount of money, but when you back out your time, your staff, and hard costs, you're a non-for-profit foundation, right? So it's also understanding, like, if people are there for the right things, they're going to see a value in you having a profitable split. If they're not, they're going to just want to give a minimal amount and use as much as they can. Does that make sense, everybody? All right, so here's the exercise to go through. Number one, you're going to want to ask all your team members, like set up a one-on-one meeting. What do you enjoy most about the team? What are the best benefits you have? And just like we talked about in the other sessions today, don't say anything. Don't say what you do. Just listen and you can use otter.ai because these meetings will be in person. Use a plug note and capture everything they say. Because you could stick it in chat GBT and ask it like, hey, I just interviewed all of my team members. I'm looking for what are the core benefits that are streamlined through all these different conversations. It's just going to tell you, right? Like the benefit of technology. Number two, you have to identify what you offer, right? Like, and these are in no particular order. Like, look at what you offer, look at what people say. Gather staff feedback. If you have staff members say, from your perspective, what does the team enjoy the most? What do they use the most, right? The next part is you have to align your team expectations. Do you know how many team members think as you have an assistant, I have an assistant? And your staff members are constantly doing additional things for the team that they should not be doing. That's not part of your value proposition. And then you're mad at them because they're not doing the job the way you want because they don't know how to say no to the team. You never built clear boundaries with the team. And there's no clarity here. It's just ambiguity, right? Remember, people take salary jobs because they want a solid ground to stand on. When the ground becomes like quicksand because things are changing, things are moving, team members are asking, you're upset, like that becomes a bad environment. That's how you have turnover. And then itemize your offerings, right? After you identify them, you want to start bucketing them into category, right? Some could be systems, some could be coaching, some could be mentorship, right? Some could be paid marketing, right? There's a lot of different ways people run their business. Now, this is really important. And anyone that's been here before, you've heard me talk about this as nauseum, whether it's in sales or in team building or in any kind of communication, perceived value versus actualized value. Perceived value is all the things I know as a coach that I can offer you, right? We have 3 different training sessions, 5 different accountability groups, hundreds of materials, the largest group of compass agents, live events, the list goes on and on and on, right? But the actualized value is what you feel that you're getting from me, right? That's like what you actually get. So in team building and value proposition, there's a big gap. Same thing in sales. The words that you say, the materials you present, how you communicate something is how you turn something into perceived, into actualized, right? So by doing this exercise that we outlined before, you're going to understand what do I offer? What's my perceived value in my mind of being on my team? And then in talking to your team members and staff and gathering feedback, you're going to understand what they actually are getting out of it. Does that make sense, everybody? So we will have time for Q&A at the end of today. Writing your value proposition. At a high level, what do you provide your team members? Do you provide leads? If so, what kind of leads? And here's a caveat. How many should an agent expect from you? We provide our agents 3 to 5 leads a month. That's clear, concise, and quantifiable. Do you offer any business development tools, right? Some people pay for RedX, Vulcan 7, whatever those things are. What mentorship do you offer, right? Like if I joined, let's say, Jeff Sigmund's team, how often do I meet with you? Like, what is the nature of a relationship, right? You go back to the Med C is like, what are your expectations of me as your team leader and how I will mentor you during the time that you're here? Get 100% clarity, right? Do you offer accountability, business planning? Do you offer coaching? All of that's yes. What do you pay for and what does the agent pay for, right? Like, I always like having a 3-column sheet that says what we pay for, what you pay for, and what we'll never pay for, right? If not, they just pitch you all their different ideas, right? Like your mommy and daddy. Oh, mom, dad, I really want a dog, right? In the last 2 days, my daughter has asked me for another guinea pig, new fish, and a cat, right? Like, and these things come with like elaborate stories and ideas. Her things are like full blown pitches, right? So if you don't make it clear, and I had to tell her, Valentine, I was like, look, here's what we have. We have your guinea pigs and we're going to have some fish, right? Here's what we're going to do. Here's your responsibility. And here's what we're never going to do. We're never going to have a dog. We're never going to have a cat. And we're not getting any more pets besides like the fish. If they're gone, we'll get new ones. Other than that, that's it. Clarity is king, right? Do you have processes, right? A lot of people come here for systems. So you should have a system because we give you a system, then we teach it to you. But a lot of you also have your own systems that are integrated into ours or just your own, right? So you have to be clear, like, what are the systems, right? What is the track record of the system? How do you communicate it? How do you train them, right? Do you offer admin or transaction support? Underneath that, it should be itemized, like going on a menu of what they could count on the person to do, right? Now, this is a lot of work to go through and figure this all out. And it's like staging a home, decluttering, painting, making cosmetic renovations. The more time you put in up front, the more profitability, clarity, and a happy life you'll have in the end. Now, sharing your value proposition, right? Have clear examples of what's offered. In America, for whatever reason, no one will ever do anything besides me and probably a few other people, right? I show up somewhere personally. I don't care why I have to do it. It's not what I'm paying for. I'm paying for what I have to do and how I have to do it. But for a lot of people, especially in coaching teams, they want to know why. Here's why we're doing this. Here's what we're doing it. And here's how it's done, right? Why, what, how, process, right? Have an onboarding in place for new team members, right? So you can onboard them and in the beginning show them how to get the most out of your resources. Imagine coming to Compass and you had no AEM and no onboarding. That's the experience most team members have, right? And wait till something's concrete before actually sharing it with the team. Because then they'll be like, is it here tomorrow? Is it here tomorrow? And God forbid you have a closing that you're counting on for $100,000 and it doesn't happen. It's much easier not to tell someone something than take it away. Create clarity in what the staff does and doesn't do. Your staff will love you for this, right? In working, like when we do deep work with teams, I'll have to interview everyone on the team, right? And the first people I like to start with the staff members. And a lot of them feel like, yeah, my team leader doesn't have my back. I'm doing so many things I'm not supposed to be doing, and then they get mad at not doing it. And the agents always ask me for stuff. The agents don't respect my time, my boundaries, on and on, right? Your staff is your foundation. Make sure you're aligned and make sure you protect them, right? Don't let them get treated badly by your agents. And look, this is the most important rule in communication. Communication without context is miscommunication, right? So all of this stuff needs context, like communication without context. We give you leads. Communication with context. We give you 3 to 5 leads a month max. If you don't know what you're offering and have a plan for your team members to utilize your benefits, you'll always have retention issues, right? Period. Full stop. End of story. Or they're always going to want more money, right? Like it's inevitable. You turned somebody who was making a lot of money into a hero. Now all of a sudden they want a 90% split. Well, wow, you put a lot of time, years, money, resources, opportunities. So it's good to nip this in the bud to begin with. Now, here's everyone's new favorite side, learning application, right? You need to block time to speak with your team members, block time to speak with your staff, and then block time to do the worksheet and the actual questions we're giving you. You're going to take proactive steps to engage your team, your staff, and ultimately build a scalable foundation to what you do. Right? So now I want to open this up for Q&A, discussion, dialogue, thoughts, comments, concerns, fears, doubts, worries, hallucinations, anxiety, you name it. I hope I have an answer. So anyone want to unmute themselves and share anything? Brian.
I appreciate all this on the value proposition, and I assume you're going to have a form for us to fill out somewhere online that we can.
There's 3 resources. There's a form. There's all the stuff that prompts you to go through and do this. We've already made for you.
Okay, great. The question I have is, after we define our value proposition, and maybe I'm getting ahead and you're going to get there with it, is I've had several experiences where I'm hiring the wrong people, and I'm not getting rid of them fast enough. So how, after figuring out what my value proposition is, I think I need to get better at figuring out the kind of agents I want on my team.
Well, the simple thing is, and we'll go through recruiting, right? Like I'm going to run recruiting sessions, but we'll give you some questionnaires. But the simple form is identify the 3 to 5 things why people should go for you, right? And then when you ask somebody, what are you looking for in a team that would make you feel like you would grow your business to the next level and what you're looking to get out of a team? Listen to what they say, right? So, it's like I'll just use a client. What are you looking for in an agent? I need an agent that's available to me 24 hours, 7 days a week, right? Like I need someone that's not you, right? So look at what you offer and look at what somebody wants. If it's a fit, then it's worth pursuing. If what you offer isn't what they want, don't hire disappointment, meaning we all see all this potential, we all see all this stuff. And if they're not there for what you offer, they're never going to be happy.
Would you suggest finding out a little bit more about what they're looking for before we offer our value proposition? Because a lot of times in interviews, they're just like, oh yeah, I want that, I want that, I want that. And
100%.
they try to immediately agree with you.
I would med see them before. Right. So when we get into recruiting, we actually even have a questionnaire that you could send somebody before you ever even talk to them. And then an email to send if they got the interview, or the email to send if they didn't get the interview. So everything we have, the good news is, like, you don't have to make anything. It's like a process and like prompts that just walks you through putting your stuff together. So it works. Lori.
Good morning, everyone. My question is this. I saw that a lot on the slides, how many leads do I offer? Well, on my team, I don't know if anybody else does this. For my more senior buyer agent, I'm expecting her to bring in a certain number of leads as well.
Well, here's the thing.
Anybody else do that?
You don't have to offer any leads, right? Like if you don't offer leads and you have zero expectations of offering leads, and like the makeup of teams, they generally offer your experience, your mentorship, your guidance. They have different team resources, maybe admin. Then if you have a person that's looking for leads, then wrong team. Like period, end of story.
Right. No, I'm saying I do offer leads, but I also expect my team members to bring a certain number of leads based on their experience. And I'm just curious if anybody else does that too, if that's part of the expectation of the teams.
You know what? I could say I've heard a lot of different things. That's one of the newer ones. Anyone else do this today?
Really?
There are a lot of people like, I wish I could do this, right? Like,
All right. Thank you.
Look, here's the other thing I'll tell you about people that give leads, right? If you give them leads, it's like you give a man a fish, they can eat once. You teach a man a fish, they can eat for a lifetime. If your business is like, all right, I can look at Margaret and Cena in DC, right? They pour leads into their team. That is their business model. Guess what? Like, find somebody else to incubate all those leads and be in touch with all the clients and then sell the leads back the same way to the agents, right? Like you want them to focus on lead conversion. If they're used to getting leads, like, do you know what a lot of turnover happens, right? Like it sounds like you have a great culture and things are aligned, but for people that really don't plan this all out together, all of a sudden, one, you have an overemphasis on them getting their own leads, which generally they want higher splits on, right? The second part is After that, and they learn how to get their own leads, and they have a database of people they converted from your leads, they leave and they go be their own agent, right? So just be really clear on where your business model is, understand where your income is coming from them, right? Anyone else have any questions?
I don't know if they, sorry, I can't figure out how to raise my hand. This is Bill Stevenson from Raleigh, Durham, North Carolina. I don't know if it's a strength or weakness, but the value proposition I think is fairly clear that we have. We're a Zillow Flex team. We give leads. We have admin support and transaction support. We have a culture of helpfulness, a high performance culture of helpfulness. But like what we offer to different agents is different, right? So some agents don't care about leads at all. Some agents don't care about mentorship at all. If you're a new agent, then you're going to want leads and you're going to want mentorship. So is that messy or is that okay or is that smart?
Well, here's the thing, like if you're running your team like a brokerage, right, where everyone wants something different and you're okay with that, right? Like kind of almost being a broker, right? Like you have a brokerage, you have lots of people, here's a menu of stuff we have, right? But if you're looking to build like what I call like the kumbaya teams, like we have culture, we have outings, we have stuff. Just remember the more different things that you're doing outside of like what your core competency as a team and a company is, the more time goes into other stuff and the deeper the chances of building something deeper and then wider go down.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, all right.
Yep.
Hey, what's up, guys? Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Hey, Chirag, that's funny. It's interesting you said that about the brokerage mindset versus the team, more kumbaya to go deeper. What I struggle with is I'm a broker owner. I was a broker owner for over 5 years, and I had a boutique of 30 agents here in Texas. And so everyone was powered by JW Realty Partners or my brokerage, right? So coming to Compass, that's been the hardest thing for me is shifting that mindset on, hey, it's now the JW group, it's Julian Williams and the group, and now how can we now create this cohesive kumbaya vibe, right? And it's so everyone's so damn independent now over the last several
Here's the
years.
thing, though. I would challenge you to question yourself if it's working well and it's profitable. You don't like, there's nothing wrong with a brokerage model. Like, if that worked, the team members are cool with it, you're making money, your splits well, like, you're accounting for your time, your staff, the financial contributions you're making to an agent, like, go through all the numbers. Like, numbers don't lie, right? And a lot of times we don't factor in the value of our time, hard costs that we put into the people, and how much time they take our staff, right? So once you start getting into these numbers, and if I sat in a room and I did it with you, for most people, they're sitting there like this by the end, but they don't realize it, right? Because they're like, "Oh, Shrug, I made $70,000 off these people this year." Really? Yeah, that's what I made off their split. Great. Now let's backtrack all the hours you spent with them. Let's backtrack all the hard costs that you had for them. Let's backtrack how much time they spent with your staff. There's a gross profitability number and a net profitability number, right? It's like the number feels good, right? But you have to really start thinking about it. Like my mission in these 12 weeks we're here, and like the team things will continue to evolve as time goes on. I'm going to teach you how to run your businesses like businesses. And I want to teach you how to like increase retention, getting the right team members, and that doing this is profitable. And that you're happy at the end of all this, that you're not frustrated all the time.
I have a question.
Go ahead. I was going to say, I don't have a hard stop at 1 o'clock, so I'm happy to just stay
Okay.
on.
I'm Allison Belknap from the Atlanta office. Nice to meet you all.
I'll be in your office on the 21st or 22nd, so I'll see you in a couple of weeks.
Oh, that's exciting. To the Buckhead office?
Yeah, I'll be there for a full day.
Okay, cool. Well, and this might be covered later, Shrug, I'm not sure, but I have a partner, we're just starting our team and we're going to start recruiting, which I know we're going to cover later. Is there a way that we should work in terms of figuring out what the profitability on a new team member should be versus kind of what we're putting in our investment? We're buying leads, we're doing a certain amount of hours of training. Is there like a formula for that, or is it just dependent on what you really want?
Yes. Well, when we get into profitable splits, I'm going to give you numbers and like a worksheet to go through.
Okay.
So like, we'll create clarity for you, and then we'll go through how to go through and like really look at what we're doing and look at the numbers. At the end of this, I can promise you this, Good, bad, and different. There will be no more plausible deniability in knowing and not knowing what all these numbers are.
Okay, excellent. Thank you.
Someone else had their hand raised. You can just unmute yourself. Don't have to raise your hand. Anybody else?
Hello. Shoot. Can you hear me?
Yep, I hear you.
Okay, cool. This is really good. I definitely need to redefine. Stephen Cozy here from Northern California. This is really good. I definitely need to redefine my value proposition, especially I just found out Compass is taking away the splits where like a team member can fall under your 90-10 split or whatever split you're on. They have to fall under their split that they have when they come onto the team. So that means we have to like define our value proposition even more with that change, because that's a huge difference. Like if an agent's on a 75-25 split and they used to think they were going to get a 90-10 split on your team, well now they're back, they're getting their 75-25 split. And then if you're taking 10, 15, 20% or more, that they have to find more value on your team. So this is really going to be helpful.
Well, here's one
Defining.
thing I'll tell you, anybody. Unless somebody takes an active leadership role in your team, right? Within being a leader within the team members, building like a huge culture carrier, do not in your life work and let anyone work on your team for a 90% split. It's like, hey, I have a great idea. I'll work for anybody for a 90% split, right? I keep
Yeah.
all the money and I have none of the risk and none of the liability, none of the overhead. My life is great.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, but I mean, Compass, before you could recruit team members by saying they could fall under your 90-10 split, and then you could take your part from them, of course. But it moves them up on terms of what their split is, which was pretty cool. But now they have to come onto the team under their current split with Compass. They don't get to fall under your 90-10 split. Because like the way I have it right now is team members on my team, they're on a 90-10 split off of my commission, but then I take 25% if they bring in the lead. If I bring in the lead to them, I take 60%.
Well, that's new. It's the first time. I don't know. I know for a fact that it's not like that in every market yet, right? Like,
It's a change that's happening. I think it started in November. Agents that are on your team before November, they get to stick to the old rule, but anybody you recruit now, they come on under their own split with Compass, and then your portion from that is your agreement with Compass. So I'm on a 90-10 split. So if I take 25% from that agent's deal, then I get my 90-10, but they have to stay under their split, which is
Not to take us down a rabbit hole, but we've added 2 agents since November, and that's not the case with us.
so every market is
since
different.
November.
I'll tell you this: what happens in NorCal,
Hey,
times can go everywhere.
all right, good to see you. I'm on a call. I'm almost
I'm
there.
I'm I'm in Northern California. I haven't heard this either, so that's news. I'll talk to my manager.
Okay, that's good to hear because they
Even
told me
still
it was
on the team,
nationwide.
man, this is good for people to hear.
Yeah, they told me it
Yeah,
was
it is.
nationwide. So I just found out about this yesterday because we just recruited someone, and I'd been talking to her for like a year, and she's all excited and all this, and my value proposition to her is pretty good. But now that she's only going to be getting 50% of deals that she brings in, she's like, it doesn't make sense. I would have to give up because I cover a lot. Like I offer back-end virtual assistants, I offer an in-house assistant, cover all the marketing fees, everything. So I have to take a certain percentage, and it just doesn't make sense. So it's good to hear you guys say that hasn't hit your markets yet. That's really
Well,
good.
look, here's the thing. I'm texting Kevin Patzell right now. He's actually a good buddy of mine. I've known
Oh,
him.
Kevin, yeah, he's great.
I will get the skinny on this.
Yay.
Yeah, that'd be
Okay, good.
helpful. Thank you.
I'm afraid Compass would have a mass exodus of top
Well, yeah,
teams.
here's the nice part about being here with me. Like I was an employee at Compass. I still have my email address. The core leadership team were my colleagues, and I know everyone at Corporate Compass really well. So when we have stuff like this, you can count on me sorting it out and bringing it back to you.
That's awesome. Sweet.
Yeah. So I'll have a update for you shortly, and I will be able to find out kind of off book in our circle of trust. You burn my circle of trust, we can't have a circle of trust, right? I'll
Yeah.
find out if this is something that's market specific or will go national.
Awesome. Thank you.
And look, just remember this, right? Like the same way we look at our business, like think about Compass too, right? Like if you're all on 90-10 splits, like in New York City, you can't get above a 70. Like it's impossible, right? They need that other percentage to run your region, pay their staff, pay for technology and everything else, right? So I always say karma works in a two-way street. So like, look, in the end, for all of us, like reach out, get to know each other more, right? Like we had a good turnout here. Like eventually we can do some other kind of meet and greet stuff. If you guys all want to come here for a day at some point, meet each other, we're happy to host you all for a day here and do something fun, right? Like, look, collaboration, community, and getting the most out of each other is like one of our core values, right? And peer-based learning is one of the best ways to grow.
How are you?
I appreciate all of you. With love in my heart, I love you all. The worksheets and everything will be attached. If you guys have questions, just ask our team. And look, this is all I'm asking you. Remember in the beginning, addition by subtraction, simplification. It is not a huge commitment to show up here 30 minutes a week, once a week, to make this much of an impact on your entire business. Now, if you're working with buyers and sellers, you can show up to that one session. Do not go to 5 to 7 Zoom training sessions a week, for the love of God. It's confusing, it's chaotic, and you guarantee you in a year you're going to be in the same place. Like it's so like if you're looking at yourself for growth, right? First, something feels confusing, right? Because now I'm hearing a bunch of different things in a bunch of different ways from a bunch of different people. Then it feels chaotic and overwhelming, right? Like I don't know what to choose. How do these things go together? And then you go back to certainty. I'm just going to do what I always done because I don't want to do the new thing wrong, right? The nice part about everything we do, it's a sequentially built system that gives you all the materials and resources. And I can promise you, I can give you lists of people that can go from here across my 5,000 square foot office that I hope you all come visit this year. Of that many different people have used this stuff that it works, right? So there's nothing that we made up. And if we're going to try something, I will always tell you, okay, this is new. This is something we came up with based on what all of you have shared, but we don't know if this has worked yet. If you want to try it, try it. If you don't, you don't. Right? So everything we share in. What's that, Bill?
Is there going to be a list of everybody who's on this call, or who will be on these calls, rather?
Yeah, we'll get the team leader stuff. So one of the things that we're doing is pulling all the team leaders together, getting a roster. We're getting a roster for all the accountability groups. We'll have them by this week. We used to send our weekly recap on Fridays, but Fridays are really busy. So it's going to be a little wonky like in this first week getting this stuff out. So yeah, you'll have a roster. And I just talked to our developers last night about like our AI search. And what'll be really cool is because these rosters are just like spreadsheets of information, we'll be able to put it where you can say like, who are the team leaders in my group? It'll give you everyone's name and email. Like, I need a team leader I want to refer to in Westport, Connecticut. It'll give you a name. Can you give me a list of all the agents that service this market? So there's a lot of really robust things just in collaborations and ways to get more referrals that we're doing. So look, just make sure your team members show up to the session so they're constantly seeing a value in what you invested in, right? Have meetings with them. Try to go through the coaching with them. When you have meetings from them, have everyone share like one takeaway that they learned in coaching this week, and then say, all right, guys, now like I want you to put the time in your calendar and have some accountability on implementing what you learned, right? So education without implementation is just entertainment. That's all that it is.
Love it.
All right, everybody. Well, I believe this was a good start for us today. So love in my heart. I love you all. I will see you all next week or later this week or somewhere in individual coaching. So see y'all later. Bye, everybody.